All right, so got an interesting thing that I'm working on today or looking at today, and just want to get a live stream up and out because because I'm kind of doing a test now. Let's do a test on multiple levels. We'll do a camera test as well. Okay. So this is going to hopefully be relatively exciting. Sorry about this real quick. Just get adjusted. If you're an Alan Moore fan, this is the Moon and Serpent bumper book of magic. And it just came out in December. I got it for a Christmas present. And, as always, it's incredibly awesome because it's Alan Moore, right? He's got this old style kind of Victorian layout. Step up now, gentlemen and ladies, come this way. Here in the Moon and Serpent Grand Egyptian Theater of Marvels, we have curiosities to suit your every inclination, demonstrations and displays, unique sensations, and a previously unimagined sexual extremity included in the modest cover fee. You dare not bring your wives. Persuade your husbands to stay at home. Beyond these doors, we guarantee admittance to hidden demimonde and ritual embellishments unpracticed since the 2nd century. There's mountebanks and fiery worms and roses made of time in grand array. Step this way, step right this way. So at 9 and 11, the immortal serpent manifests itself for your delight and edification. Patrons of a nervous disposition may experience a roaring in the ears or dislocation of the temporal lobes, for which the Moon and Serpent Grand Egyptian Theater of Marvels is not legally responsible. All right, so write this whole thing of Will Wake the Snake being for adults only. So if you don't know Alan Moore, he's one of the best-selling comic book authors of all time. He wrote V for Vendetta, Watchmen, and he's a real magician, like a true user of the mental technology of magic, which has existed for 50,000 years. People have been figuring out ways to tap into the subconscious, and through the power of imagery and active imagination, he is the man. Now, one of the things that's really cool about this, on the front cover, you'll notice that card right there. For those of you who know your Thoth deck, that's the Magician card, which is pretty sweet. And then for lovers of Mercury, we have the Caduceus, which is definitely a magic wand. It's also, the Kundalini. So busting this open in the first page, holy cow, if you know your symbolism, this book is freaking awesome because there's all sorts of symbolism and history going on here, right? Complete with these old tarot decks and such. So let's see if I can do this. This will be an interesting test. By the way, I'm going to just show this to you. So this is my daily work altar that I use to get stuff done. And you can see, right, that we have coins, wands, there's pentacles, and cups. So I'm, a big fan of Alan Moore and his, he's really into the tarot. Because why not? It's really important and old school stuff. Let's take a look here as we this will be interesting. All right. So let's kind of, flip through the book a little bit. I'm gonna tweak this too. Whew. All right. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Just, the whole book is always fabulous. Solve coagula, which is I believe an alchemical term. It's kind of like the Philosopher's Stone. The Moon and Serpent Bumper Book of Magic. So I think Steve Moore was Alan Moore's bro. And as much as Alan Moore is a solitary practitioner of the art, him and his brother talked a lot about magic. And, here's our table of contents. And the thing that's really exciting about this, right, is here's an alphabet of sigils. And they mean things. I'm not sure quite where these are derived from, but we start getting into the birth of magic, which is, it's people, it's chimps, or we call them humans, but they're the naked chimp going out, on a hunt to get a stag, taking its life, and coming back to the cave. And what happens? People want more more effective hunts. They want bigger stags. They want these things that they attempt to get through magic. And so we get some shamanic cave paintings here. I think this is grunts and groans or whatever. And really that's the beginning of magic. In the cave paintings, if you don't know this ancient shaman picture, it's important, because this is the beginning of art. This is, art is magic, as Alan Moore says. And, that's why they're both the craft. Got a little Amanita muscara here. And then we start getting into all these different, old school great enchanters, which is totally awesome. I think this is going with the three magi, right? Magi are where the word magic comes from. The three magi that visit Jesus, and Jesus is clearly a magician for anybody who's got half a brain. Now, getting into some beginnings, right? I think this is the Emerald tablet, which is of Hermes. Hermes is the Egyptian god of magic, or it originally starts out as Thoth and becomes Hermes as it moves from Egyptian to Hellenistic kind of background. I mean, Hellenistic tradition. So the Greeks take the old mythology and turn Thoth, the Egyptian god of magic, into Mercury, the messenger of the gods. So, right, Mercury. If you've seen Promethea, one of his other comics, you'll recognize this symbol. Yeah. So Promethea is a really nice context for this whole book, because Promethea, gets into all the Kabbalism and all stuff like that. That's a tangent. So lots of history about, the great enchanters, like, hey, Circe, for example, kind of important. Right? She's the goddess, not the goddess, the witch that meets Jason the Argonauts and inspires a lot of future witches, the power of the witch. Speaking of which, uh, this is a story about a famous female magician that is going to kind of carry throughout the book. So there's a lot of prose writing, right? I think this is actually the serpent that Alan Moore connects with, or as part of his tradition, his personal tradition. So, throughout the book, tons of these kind of comic book vignettes about, like, is this Solomon? It's hard to read upside down. Yeah, King Solomon, and how he invokes the jinn to build a temple at Jerusalem. So there's only one person who's been smart enough, wise enough to get the genie, unleash the genie, and then get him back into the bottle. So King Solomon, he's a pretty important dude in the magic traditions. We have lots of great stuff here, and maybe I'll just start going over this as we it'd be fun to talk about this book because it's crazy. The magic for the motionless, how to start to tap into visualization. If you are into psychocybernetics, for example, or Carl Jung, then the mind has incredible powers that you can access through visualization. It makes sense, right? It's the visual system is what most of our brain is built for. It's like 80% or something of the dedicated capacity is for visual processing of information. So, how do you tap the subconscious? You're going to tap it through the visual systems, not through language. Language is a relatively um, new symbolic uh, way to connect into the system, but it's not the oldest or the best. Kabbalah, yeah, lots of Kabbalistic work in here. Kind of if you're, once again, this ties back to Promethea. In Promethea, the main character travels through the Tree of Life. This is called the Tree of Life, and the Sephiroth, which are the different kind of planes of existence, and she introduces you to all of them. It's great, right? With God being, at its highest, most ethereal up here, and you know, all the different these Sephiroths are super interesting. Maybe we'll talk about that more in the future. I think we should. So he goes through all the planes of the Sephiroth in the ancient Jewish Kabbalistic tradition, Malkuth, by the way, is where you're at right now. That's this earthly plane of existence. And let's see. So climbing the tree. Love these pullouts, these brief kind of breaks from the heavy duty story reading, prose reading. So guess what? Here we have our main character, uh, who whose name is Summer, I believe. Mm, Her name is. Anyways, she basically she has no interest in this man sexually because she's prefers women, and that makes for a really good alliance between the two because that sexual tension oftentimes causes drama and problems. So together they start exploring um the realms of magic, and one of the ways that begins is with, guess what, magic mushrooms. Um, there's a reason they're called magic mushrooms. So this is talking about how they do it and how they experience it, right? Some very psychedelic artwork that you would see from the Swamp Thing, for example. Classic, look of the mushrooms. And then we get into more of this wonderful artwork. Uh, right? That's talking about important enchanters throughout the course of history. Get more into things you can do, practical magical applications. Here's another journey where two archetypes meet each other and how that works out in the physical plane. You can recognize the Star of David here, which is actually the union of the feminine and the masculine. More super cool vignettes about magic and famous magicians. I'm glad that I can, share some of this stuff with you. You may recognize, I think this is a magic square. But what's curious, right, is that it has and I think that's the Enochian alphabet in it. Is that John D? It's so hard to read upside down. Anyways, crazy book, right? It's packed with tons of really pragmatic um, insight into the magic path as per the ritual magician, right? And it's interesting that he chooses a female as the main character because, oftentimes this is considered to be a masculine sort of path. So that's, I think, really cool because we need more women in magic, both the performance art and otherwise. The Tarot, kind of a history guide of the Tarot, you really got to know the Tarot. It's a predecessor to the modern day deck of cards, and it's a story, archetypal story of the fool's journey, trying to figure out what the hell is going on in life till they find something that they can bring back to us all and make everybody's lives better. How it's used, how to do readings. I think this is a pretty old version of the Tarot versus a more modern uptake, which I haven't seen that deck before. This predates the Rider-Waite deck, I believe. Jacob Boom. So symbolism, right? This is a visual art form. Symbolism is super important. Once again, we're getting into the Sephiroths and the different planes of existence. But like, check that out. Ooh, we got Kali here in, you know, the plane probably kind of a version of Hellish. Doth, which is, by the way, if you haven't read his Cthulhu mythos, it's crazy. It's just absolutely amazing. We also have this serpent that you keep seeing repeatedly throughout the book, who is his, I think, is really important in his practice, the astral plane, the visionary realm, fairyland, the alchemical landscape. And, you know, he's very surprisingly rational about this introduction to magic and how, you know, there's this realm of unconscious symbols in our head. And hey, imaginary friends, because the world is filled with imaginary friends. Anybody who's into God is into an imaginary friend. Anybody into angels, imaginary friends. So spirit guides, spirits of place. He's big into psychogeography, which is the kind of the psychic energy and his psychohistory of a location. Really cool. Spirits of the dead and the gods. The Loa are voodoo, right? This is all voodoo veves. These are archetypes that transcend life, right? They're beings that, like the Gede, who fascinating stuff, totally underappreciated. Then we have demons, angels, planetary spirits, Enochian angels, for those of you who are into Aleister Crowley. You might recognize the symboling of summoning angels, which, fictional entities, right? They live in the noosphere. Here we have the soul. Looks like she's going through a spiritual transformation as she's continues her path. Okay, guess who this is? This is Lilith. This is Adam's first wife. Really interesting history. This is kind of a classic image from that's really old, with the owl being her symbol. Wow, look at that. This is not demonic, by the way. This is Kabbalistic. It's more sophisticated and nuanced than the Catholic or Protestant view of the universe. It predates them, definitely. Well, I think, I'm not sure when Kabbalism was born. The Mao practical magic, probably some dark magic stuff going on in there. What else we got? More of this, more famous magicians. Is this the dude? I don't know. Okay, never mind. Right? If you want to learn magic, this book is an amazing resource. Her continued journey through, the magical planes as she becomes full-on legitimate sorceress. This is the pentacle going up and the pentacle going down. Interesting. Okay, so we got the Lovers. There's another tarot card. A little connect the dots. Gosh, I wonder what that is. Little Baphomet action with the Liphus Levi. There's more of this wonderful imagery. Got the fusion of male and female magic, right? There's some kind of music with the spheres maybe happening there. There's his spirit again. There's the shaman imagery you saw earlier. Things to do on a rainy day. And the Adventures of Alexander. I'm not sure which Alexander that is. More Lives of the Great Enchanters. Folks like probably John Dee. Is that John Dee? Yeah, he was the astrologer, I think, for Queen Elizabeth II, who had one of the longest reigns in the British monarchy, and definitely saw the rise of British power. And I think that was the late in the 1700s. The Tetragrammaton. So on my altar, that I showed you at the beginning of this stream, we have I have this, and it's basically, if you know the unspeakable name of God, then you can make a wish, and that wish will be granted. And my wish was to become a writer, successful writer, and I've used that as the basis of my Magic Pomodoro technique for over 7 years. So I've used it to write millions of words and love it. Good stuff. It's, it doesn't matter if it's superstition, it works because it speaks to me and my intention and as a focus point for my intention. And, it gives an extra level of meaning to my work just because I choose that. And as a child of God, you get to choose things like that. All right. I'm not sure what this is, right? But look at the visual information that's in here. It's crazy. If you know the symbolism, there's so much extra going on here. It's ridiculous. Okay, so what do we got? Interesting. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning more about this. Sounds. There's the snakes again, the caduceus, the kundalini energy, postscript, the cutout and assembly moon and sun temple. Oh, look at that. Destroy your beautiful book, but holy cow, that's super cool. I love what you can do with paper, and it makes me want to do it. All right, a bunch of the table of different alphabets and symbols and Judaic alphabet, Roman gods, Hindu deities. So if you like esoterica, I think you're going to freaking love this. By the way, for those who know the Ordo Templo Orientis, that's their symbol. That's Crowley's kind of offspring, I think. Love Sacred Geometry, the Enochian Alphabet, which is it's magical alphabet. So good stuff, interesting stuff. And that concludes our tour of the Moon and Serpent Bumper Book of Magic by Alan and Steve Moore. All right. I hope you've enjoyed this journey through this amazing new book. It's like $50. Definitely worth picking up. And we'll catch you later. Have a magical day.